Thank you for joining us for the 2024 Mideastern Athletic Conference Weekly Football Coaches Video Conference. I'm Elise Scripter, Director of Strategic Communications for the Mideastern Athletic Conference, and I will serve as moderator and co-host of today's question and answer session. At this time, the MEAC notes will be brought to you by the Assistant Director of Strategic Communications, Abigail Weiss. Abigail, go ahead.
Thank you, Elise. So this week saw a lot of success for MEAC volleyball programs after multiple non-conference wins and upsets. We now have all 8 teams with numbers in the winning column. The Morgan State Bears went undefeated last week, picking up victories against Manhattan College, University of Penn, Bowie State. Maryland Eastern Shore grabbed a pair of wins against Iona and Hampton this week as the hosts of the Henson Hawks Invitational. North Carolina Central picked up a win against Campbell for their first win of the season. South Carolina State also grabbed a win on the road against Mississippi Valley State in a 3-set sweep. Norfolk State, and that's it for volleyball. And as for cross country, Norfolk State women's and men's cross country were the only teams who competed and represented the MEAC this week. They saw action at the Virginia Invitational, which was hosted by University of Virginia. The Spartans women's cross country team earned bronze in the women's 5K against quality competition. It was led by Yvonne Sondy, crossing the line at a time of 18:18.90. And the Spartans men team placed 4th in the 8K, right behind opponents consisting of UNC, UVA, and Alabama Huntsville. That concludes the weekly notes. Back to you, Elise.
Thank you so much, Abigail, for the update on action and events going on across the MEAC. And now joining me as co-host throughout the season is the executive producer of the MEAC Digital Network, Mr. Lynn Thompson. Welcome, Lynn, and thank you for being here. Let's talk football.
Thank you so much, Elise. As usual, it's time to talk football as we begin our 5th video conference of the 2024 season. We've got a lot of action to recap and a lot to look forward to as we continue this non-conference portion of the MEAC football schedule. Our first interview this morning is with head coach of the Howard University Bison, Larry Scott. Good morning to you, Coach Scott.
Good morning there. How we doing?
Good, good. I know you're doing well as you're coming off a dominant victory against Morehouse University in the HBCU NYC Classic. Talk to us about the Bison's performance last week in New York City.
Overall, we were pleased, obviously, with the outcome. It was a chance for us to go up and do a true classic type of feel. We were there early, a day early, and those type of things. So just, continuing to sharpen our preparation and all those type of things. And the biggest thing is when we came out of it and we kind of, the way we wanted to attack this season, we were able to play a lot of guys. And I think that's important as you build through your non-conference schedule to build the meat of your roster. And that's not the top half of it. And so we were able to go into our bag a little bit and end up playing about 48 guys on defense and ended up playing about 46, 47 guys on offense. So to be able to develop 80, have 80, 90 guys playing a game, and for us, probably a lot over the last 2 weeks has been really important as we continue to build and develop through the out-of-conference schedule to make sure we're ready to go and play good football when we need to. So, to be able to do that, go on the road, the young men have a chance to experience playing in MetLife Stadium and in an environment like that and have a lot of guys play football so that we can continue to teach and develop was big for us because as we know now, it's Hampton week.
Yes, you're right. And one of the big things you had to do was build some depth in your key positions, particularly the trigger man, quarterback position. Jashawn Scroggins is injured. And let's talk about your trigger man now. You had to put somebody else back there. Let's talk about that. Somebody else had to lead the Bison offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's the concept that, hey, next man up. We don't lose any momentum. It just so happened, we started with Jalen Tolbert, and Jalen's played in games before for us. He started games. So he's kind of a seasoned backup, as you will. But it makes you feel really good as a coach and as a program when that's the guy that actually comes off the bench for you and able to go in and play. He knows the offense inside and out, has operated with these guys, has been in the system for 3 years, 4 years. And so to have that guy be the one that you look to as your backup tells you about the depth and how you feel at that position, which is critical. And we still didn't even get to Zach Yeager yet, who's also in that room. And so we feel good about the depth that we have there. But to play, 11 wideouts and to play, 13 offensive linemen and to play 5 tight ends and to play a lot of guys and a lot of meaningful football was what we wanted to really accomplish over these last 2 weeks. And I think we were able to do that. Keep our guys fresh, keep everybody, healthy and those type of things as we move through this out-of-conference schedule. Is the absolute goal, all while winning football games and playing winning football in the depth of your roster. So pleased with where we are. But again, it's Hampton week.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, you talked about it. It's the second time you mentioned it already. This is the time you play them in the Truth and Service Classic at Audi Field. Most folks know it as the Battle of the Real HU. Let's talk about this matchup, the history behind it, and what is your outlook for this non-conference contest? I know 2 great big football teams, tough football teams, a lot on the line for this one.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think it's a lot of things. And when you play football in these type of games, it's a pride factor, right? There's a little bit of a rivalry there, a big rivalry there. It's good for the fans. It's good for the DC area. There are a lot of people that graduated from Hampton Institute here in the DC area, and so there's a good kind of friendly battle going on there too. But this is for the pride, pride of the game, pride in your program, pride in being a Howard Bison, and so. That's what this is. This is a pride game, and the guys know it. They know how important it is. We've kind of, had this game going into the fourth quarter 2 years in a row and kind of lost the fourth. And so we understand that it's going to be a 4-quarter battle. Always has been, always will be probably. And we got to make sure we're geared up and that we're ready to go for this one. It's going to be all 4 quarters, every second on the clock.
Coach, this is the second game at the NFL Stadium. What has this experience been like for these young men to play in such large environments at the collegiate level?
I think great. I mean, it's awesome. It's one of why we want to continue to encourage. It's been a huge recruiting piece for us. As you go back all the way back to playing in the Celebration Bowl in Mercedes-Benz and opening up at Rutgers and playing in MetLife. All those type of things have been big stages for this team, which kind of prepares them for all of the things and success that we talk about as as a big picture deal. But it also helped in recruiting, whether we're recruiting high school kids or whether we're recruiting on the grad transfer circuit. We're able to sell these games in these venues as a part of coming to Howard for the a big time college experience and having an opportunity to play on those stages and being on national television as many times as we have been over the last 7-8 times we played football has been big, and it's been a big sell in both recruiting and I think conference and for the MEAC and all of those type of things. It's been a big exposure for both. So it works for us on a multifaceted scope, and we're doing a good job in our recruiting department of selling that in our media and those type of things too, as well as we understand the big picture of that is continuing to grow and build the program. And the way that you do that is through recruiting and what people see and the aesthetics of what it looks like and all those type of things. So it's been kind of kicked off in the season in a big picture view pretty well for us, and we just got to continue to build and continue getting better and trying to play as good a football as we can week in and week out.
Okay, Coach, that's it for me. Hang on for Elise. Elise, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first questions for Coach Scott come from Nathaniel Henry Jr.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing this morning?
Hey, how we doing? Good morning.
Great. Nathaniel Henry, Howard University Sports Media. Coach, you talked briefly last week about the improvement of the defensive line. They turned in one of the best efforts in recent memory against Morehouse. Talk a little bit about that and have they exceeded your expectations at this point?
Oh, yeah, it was a challenge on them all week, but the challenge wasn't just about Morehouse. The challenge was about us getting better and being able to play the type of football that we want to play defensively. In our program, we talk about standard being the standard and that defense wins championships, and the plan to win starts with play great defense. There's nothing mentions nothing about offense. It mentions nothing about any of those things. It says play great defense, and so the challenge has been defensively to live up to the standard and expectation that we have placed on that side of the ball. Those guys played with a little bit of, energy. They played with the way that we wanted them to play. They were attacking. They were heavy-handed. They were, moving and playing the physical style of football that we got to continue to build on to go where we want to go. And to see them take that step and kind of be a dominant group in a game where we expected them to dominate, they did. and kind of dominated up front. And we got to continue to build on that and get better, because that's going to be the challenge this week. It's going to definitely be a trench game. This game's going to be one in the trenches, and who can, last and be the most physical and play, with the most energy and high octane for 4 quarters too, not just 2, not just 3. It's going to take all 4 quarters, every snap of this ball game, and it's going to be It's going to start there up front.
Yes, sir. Next question. Talk about the performance of quarterback Jalen Tolbert, specifically his ability to spread the ball around and having different receivers.
Yeah, Jalen's a bright kid. He's really, really bright. Sometimes we have to just reel him in a little bit with some ad-libbing and those type of things, but he's really bright. He sees the game really well. He understands football. He comes from a championship high school program. He's won a lot of football. And it's important when you recruit that position that you recruit guys that, have come from winning programs. They've done that. They've had success. They've played with good players. They've done those things. And coming out of the program that he did down there in South Florida, Miramar, he's a guy that's done that. So to see him come in and step in was no surprise to us that he would probably go and play pretty well and those things. And he made a few mistakes, and we left a few plays out there. However, it was definitely a performance that we can build off of and continue to build on in that room. And, Jay Sean's going to be day to day, kind of week to week here. So we'll see where we're at, but we feel good about that. We can go in with either one of those guys. And like I said, Navi mentioned Zach Yeager getting involved in that as well. I feel like we can go in with any of those 3. So we feel good about where we are at that position.
Yes, sir. Last question. What are some of your major concerns with Hampton and the challenges it brings?
Oh, man, just a 4-quarter game. These guys fly around, they strain, they run to the ball. Again, that roster is always going to be completely made up of something different than what you think it is year in and year out. Again, you pick up all the literature and you start reading in the roster. They got transfers from, a host of places, UMass, Campbell, Temple. They got them from everywhere. So you just have to sit back and really do a great job of studying personnel, watching a lot of tape, watching a lot of game, watching a lot of film. But one thing you do know, they play fast, they play physical. They're physical, yes, that run around, they're going to hit you. And those type of things, and they can be explosive. So at the end of the day, it's one play from them. They get behind you in coverage one time, and it's an explosive, and it can change it. You don't fit a gap correctly in the back and hit a crease, and it can change the game real quick. So truly athletic, like I said, fast and physical. So it's going to be one of those games that are going to have to endure some of the ebb and flows. There's probably going to be explosive and big plays on both sides of the ball, and you're going to have to weather the storm at times and continue to stay focused and dialed in for 4 quarters and then look up when there's 4 zeros left on the clock, and we'll see where we're at. But this is one that we've had penciled and circled for a while, since last year's comeback they had there in the 4th quarter, and we're excited to go play this football game. I'll tell you that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Scott come from Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports.
Coach Scott, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Chris. How you doing?
Pretty good. When I talked to you last week about the Mercyhurst game, you said it was going to be important for that team to understand that a football game is 60 minutes. Just how would you assess that mentality coming off of the Morehouse game?
I think with our first group and our first probably 24, 25 guys that play a lot of football on both sides of the ball, they really understood that. And what I wanted this week is for when the guys that are the middle half of your roster that you're still developing, young guys that hadn't played a lot of college football, or redshirt freshmen that are getting a chance to get their first taste and feel real live, meaningful action. Wanted them to try to understand that and what that's all about. And so that's just not a first group thing, or your first 22 on both sides of the ball, or your first 28 on both sides of the ball. It is a team thing. And so when you have an opportunity to step on the field as a Howard Bison, there's a standard and expectation that is very high for all of us. And so this week was about getting some of those guys to understand how to finish games and how to go in and play in meaningful situations and get meaningful snaps and be able to execute to the standard which we set that permeates throughout the whole team. So this week was about them guys getting a chance to do that. Now, we had to let them play. There was a little stretch there in the 4th quarter where, we gave up some scores. And there was a lot of young guys out there that was their first taste of college football besides, camp and practice and those things. And so we had to coach them and learn through it. And I wanted to put it all on video and be able to come in on Sunday and sit down with these guys and coach them through it, teach and develop those guys too as well. Because I always challenge our coaches is we got to develop our roster constantly top to bottom. It's great for, you know, recruiting our team and the morale of our football team as you go through a long season. Those guys give you a lot of scout team looks and a lot of scout looks and those things. When we have an opportunity to develop and coach and teach them, we're going to do that as well, because that is a team thing and it speaks to the the morale of the entire team. And it also helps with, you know, keeping your good players here and recruiting your team on a daily basis as we face a lot of challenges with transfer portals and guys, you know, getting tapped into and trying to get recruited to move on to other places. We got to make sure that we keep that a team thing as we build this program. So, yeah, that's important. And I think that we have to teach that top to bottom.
And my last question is, Hampton has a unique quarterback configuration. They go with Zealous and Mays. You know, they alternate. As a coach, you know, how does that go into game planning? Likely going to have to prepare for two guys, and Hampton's at their discretion how they want to use them. How do you guys develop a game plan around that?
Again, it's not about them. It's about us and what we're trying to do to attack them. And so, yeah, you know, specifically, you're going to look at a guy's skill set. What does this guy do better than that guy and those type of things? And you may call some things and do some things a little differently based on who's in the game, obviously. But it's all going to be within the system and what we do well. We're not going to go outside of the box and try to create and do something altogether different because there's a different guy in the game. No, we're going to do the things that we do, and we're going to do it really well. We're going to do it at a high level. So, you know, no matter who they got in the game, we're going to execute our defense. We're going to execute our technique. We're going to play with our fundamentals, and we're going to play to our standard of defense. So at the end of the day, it's still just about us.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck this week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Scott come from Ty Miller.
Good morning, Coach Scott. Ty Miller with Power News Radio Network and Black College Football Weekly. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Ty. How you doing?
I'm pretty good, Coach. I want to ask you about the offensive line. How has it graded out so far this season, and how key will they be this weekend against Hampton's defense?
Yeah, we've been coming together. We've been playing a host of guys in different spots if you watch us closely. And a lot of that's by design and by plan. As we go through our off season, I kind of break the season into phases for us and developmental phases. As we look at it, it's just not week to week, and we're just kind of playing Russian roulette and just going out and playing. We play different lineups. We put their guys in different spots just so that we develop where we need to be when we get into our conference schedule and those type of things with guys having meaningful reps and playing in different spots and positions, so that we always make sure we end up with our best five on the field when it's time to put the best guys out there. But that group's coming along and gaining the continuity and those type of things that we want to see. I mean, they saw every between Rutgers and Shiano being the kind of defensive guy in mind that he is, and then going into playing Mercyhurst, where we got every blitz and every front and every movement known to man, and kind of the same thing here this last week, where we're seeing 7 and 8 man pressures and 7, 6 and 7 man pressures and fronts and moving and all that kind of stuff. These guys have had kind of the kitchen sink thrown at them from a schematic standpoint, and have done really well adjusting to it. We're still finding ways to run the football amongst all the chaos with that kind of thing going on. And really, we're not changing and deviating from what we do. We're just lining up using great technique and fundamentals, playing hard, playing physical, and doing those things. So I like where we are with that group. A lot of young guys getting the chance to play meaningful football in there as well as we develop that position. And so excited about that group and playing the type of football we're going to want them and need them to play when it's time to do it.
Second question, Coach. Hampton's offense has displayed good balance, both running and passing. So how will your defense offset that balance they have to take control of this game?
Again, we're going to play to what we do in our style. Early downs, we're going to play our defenses and do what we do on base downs, first and second down, and hopefully dictate the game a little bit that way to get them into the third down situations that are will be more favorable for us, and so that we can do some of the things that we want to do on third downs and get off the field. That's going to be the key. The key is going to be not letting them sustain drives, getting them into third downs, and then being able to get them off the field and then get the ball back to our offense. So at the end of the day, it's just, that's great that they play with really good balance. And I think we're just going to have to take away some of the things that they want to do, and particularly on early downs, first and second down.
Also, Chris mentioned their 2 quarterback system. So will your personnel change on defense depending on which quarterback's in the game?
No, not at all.
Okay. Thank you much, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Scott come from Dwayne Nash.
Good morning, Coach Dwayne Nash from the Yard of HBCU Sports and Hero Sports. How are you?
Dwayne, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I know that you've already mentioned several times about how important this matchup against Hampton coming up this weekend is to you. But this is a team that's been rather tough for you throughout your time there at Howard. Throughout your time there at Howard, since you've never beaten them, is this something that your players have been vocal about so far this week?
We haven't been vocal about the past. We've just been vocal about the fact that this is an important football game in 2024, right? 2023 was what it was. We felt like we had that game won. We let off the gas and didn't finish in the fourth. And kind of the same thing, we read it from a year, the year before that when we just kind of ran out of time there in the fourth and down there at their place 2 years ago. But we haven't focused much on the past. We've been focusing on how important this game is to this football team and this year in 2024. We're all aware of the fact that we've come up short the last few times of playing them. The guys that have been here and understand that, and so with that, some of those things go without being said of how important this game is and how that game has kind of been a little bit of a thorn in our side here the last few seasons, amongst even championship years and having some success. In the rest of the season, this game has been one that has been circled for us and is always a big one on our schedule. But here in 2024, we understand that. This year has to be a little bit different. But all we do is control the things that we control, get ourselves in the best position we can possible to go win this game.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach. Good luck this week.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Our next questions for Coach Scott come from Daryl.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Coach Scott, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Daryl. How are you?
Pretty good, man. I just want to kind of just again, I came in at the end. This is Daryl Duvall from Power U Sports. I came in at the end, and so I don't know if this question has been asked already. You all started real fast at the game this past weekend, and then Morehouse had a lot of mistakes. And so basically, I just want to know, what is the difference, do you think, from the last year to this year on Morehouse being so close on the game?
That's a good question there. I mean, like I said earlier, we played a lot of guys in this game, and they hit some plays late in the game against some of the guys that had come into the game that we were wanting to play and left in the game to develop and coach through and all those type of things. And I think they hit a couple throws late in the game there against some of our guys that are reserve guys for us. So. I think in the end, it was as much about us and doing the things that we want to do to develop our roster and those type of things. I commend them. They played hard. I mean, as the last 2 years that we played them, Coach really has that team playing hard and playing together, and they're playing harder than they have before. So kudos to them. They ran around and did some things and then created some plays for them there at the end of the game. Like I said, against some of our reserve guys, but that was a chance for us to really coach them and get them learning and teaching them and getting them involved in the film room and on our corrections practice on Sunday and those type of things. So for us, it was just the development of our roster. But I will not take anything from Morehouse. I think they've made some major improvements and major strides in the culture of their football program and how they're playing it. And that's the tip I had at their new head coach there.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Coach.
That is all the questions for Coach Scott from the media at this time. Coach, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
All right, guys. Thank you. See you next week.
Howard will face Hampton in the Truth and Service Classic, or the Battle of the Real HU, on Saturday, September 21st at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. Kickoff is set for 4 p.m. Lynn, over to you for our next interview.
Thanks so much, Elise. Up next, head coach of the North Carolina Central Eagles, Trey Oliver. Good morning to you, Coach Oliver.
Good morning, Lynn. How you doing this morning?
Good, good, Coach. That was a tough loss this week. Going into the fourth quarter, down 17-10 to the North Carolina Tar Heels. Coach, you come out on the short end of the stick. Assess your team's performance on the road against an ACC team, a good one, in the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Yeah, we knew we were playing a good Carolina football team, and we were going to have to play nearly a perfect game to give ourselves an opportunity to win that game. I was very pleased with how our guys fought. We came in with the game plan. We had to have some early success. We can't get down early in the game and you have to figure out how to get the game to the second half. And once you get to the second half, which we were able to do, get to the fourth quarter. But early on, we took the opening drive down 75 yards and scored. Defense got to stop. And we were, feeling pretty good about ourselves. We muffle punt, give the ball back to them. But there's a lot of good that came out of the game and some things that we need to still improve on. But I thought that we played a lot of guys. We were banged up deep with our defensive front, so we had to move some offensive linemen over the defensive linemen. So we had a couple of young kids, Ty Lawrence and Tyler Clark, some true freshmen that played both sides of the ball, some O-line and D-line. Freshman quarterback Javion Martin came in to replace Walker Harris. Javion Martin, true freshman, came in. The stage wasn't too big for him. So it was good to see him and a bunch of these other young guys come in and have some success against, a good ACC opponent. But we did come up short. Kind of got away from us in the fourth quarter. The big physical team and kind of wore us down. But I was pleased with how our guys fought. We didn't back down. And, we will build from here and work to get better this week.
Yeah, Coach, there were several positives, as you said, coming out of this game, including your defense holding Carolina scoreless in the first and third quarters, as well as trailing by a touchdown at the half. What are some of the learning points now that you and the team will take away from this game as you build for the future the rest of the season?
Great teams have played at a high level, day in and day out. Doesn't matter who they playing, when they playing, where they playing. And we have to be able to play at a high level, regardless of who we're playing. And, for us to be able to match up with these guys, physicality here and there and play like we did, it shows that we have a good football team and we can play really good defense. But we just have to have a level of consistency and everything counts, every play counts. And you just have to come every week prepared, to play well.
Okay, last question for me before Elise turns it over to the media, and it's a big question. You come home now to face A&T. Let's talk about this big rivalry, this matchup. While most folks want to leverage the whole season on this matchup, it's just the next game on the schedule for you and the Eagles, but it is a huge game. Let's talk about it.
Definitely a huge game. It is the next game on the schedule. It doesn't make or break our season. I can't speak for those people in Greensboro, but our season is a lot bigger than one game. But it is a very big rivalry. It means a whole lot to a whole lot of people. And me being an Eagle and I've been on both sides of the fence. Big game, huge game. And as a coaching staff, we won't make it any bigger than what it is. But at the same time, our guys will understand the importance of this game. A lot of alum are expecting us to bring this win home, and that's our responsibility. So we're gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure that our guys are prepared and know what's at hand this weekend, and our guys will be ready to play.
Okay, Elise.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first questions for Coach Oliver come from Chris Stevens.
Coach Oliver, Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports. How's it going?
I'm well. How are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. You already mentioned that you had to move guys around and throw a lot of true freshmen into the fire. How do you hope that experience emboldens them and gives them confidence as you get into the meat and potatoes of your schedule, especially with MEAC play right around the corner?
Well, that's why we brought them here, because we think these guys can play. So I'm not scared to play young guys. We have some talented freshmen, and some of them just need an opportunity. We don't want to play too many of them too early, but at the same time, it's good for those guys to get quality reps, especially against non-conference opponents. I think it will help us in depth in the long run. We do plan to get some of these guys back that have been banged up, that have been out for the past couple of weeks. Jaden Taylor, I'm anticipating he'll be back this week, along with a couple other guys. Walker Harris is still questionable. He's going to be day by day. But anytime you can get quality game experience, it'll definitely help you in the long run, and obviously it'll help you with depth down the road.
And of course, you have A&T this weekend. It's one of those rivalry games that people look forward to on such a grand scale. Like you said, you've played, for Central. You've been a coach at A&T. Just how are you going to prepare these guys from obviously the physical standpoint is going to be the most important thing, but just, the mental standpoint of just having so many people converge on O'Kelly Riddick, and it's just going to absolutely be a madhouse Saturday night.
I mean, as a competitor, as an athlete, you got to embrace that. That's what you want. And, I always talk about thermostat mentality. not too high and not too low. And it's going to be some highs and lows in all games. But at the same time, you have to control your temper and your emotions. So it's going to be an emotional game. It's going to be a physical game. But at the same time, it's football, and this is what we prepare for. So as a coach, I'm not going to make this game for our guys any bigger than what it is. It's a football game. It's going to be a lot of people here. It's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on. But I'm not going to make it any bigger than what it is. Bottom line, we playing football.
And that'll lead me to my last question, and I'll cede to the other media. Going to Kenan Stadium, I mean, obviously you guys have played big Division I FBS opponents before, so it's nothing new under the sun, but just being able to, have a closer drive and being able to see how, North Carolina does things, just how is that experience, not from a football standpoint from your guys, but just from an experience from an aura standpoint? Like, just how is that going for them?
I'm sorry, you said from a what standpoint?
From the aura of, being at Chapel Hill and all of that.
Okay. Yeah. We had a great trip out to UCLA last year, Pasadena, and that was a great experience for our guys. For me, I would much rather play games within the region. Obviously, it makes it more sense for our fans to be able to come. Guys' families can come see them play, and you're not spending half your money traveling across the country. So, we drove 15 minutes up the street, play the game, come on back home. So, that was the beauty of it. You're not, traveling all late at night. You get home at a reasonable time. But, it's also a great opportunity for you to be able to play a Division I opponent. And but the biggest thing, from a financial aspect is, we have to be financially responsible and, figure out how to save some money and get some money back in it, on campus.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck this week.
Yep, thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Oliver come from Daryl Duvall.
Coach, I just want to commend you and say thank you for y'all played a real good game. Again, this is Daryl Duvall from Power U Sports. You all came out very fast first quarter, and y'all made UNC work for that victory. So what is your thoughts of that? I mean, and then what is your thoughts on just coming out fast? And I mean, you just probably scared UNC when y'all first came out that first quarter.
Well, we not gonna duck or dodge or bow down to anybody. Our guys, we got some good football players here. I have a great coaching staff, and these guys are gonna fight. I don't care who we playing. Even if we outmatched, outmanned, more scholarships, more money, whatever the case may be. I got some dudes in this building, man. They're gonna fight you, bottom line. So that wasn't a concern of mine about us trying to compete and, putting our best effort forward. And that's one thing that I was really, really proud of. We talked about it's gonna be a dogfight. And I promise you, you'll not win a fight if you don't swing. So that's what we talked about. Don't back down, put your left foot forward and just start swinging and don't stop. And I thought that's what our guys did. Kind of ran out of gas late, but we weren't gonna come in there and timid and trying to be touchy-feely and let's see how good these guys are. No, they're a good football team. We know that. They're in the ACC. We know that. Let's go out here and fight them and see what happens. And I thought we did it, and we gave ourselves a chance. We got it to the fourth quarter, but then, kind of got away from us.
And what is the update on Harris, your quarterback Harris right now? I think you said he's day-to-day?
Walker's day-to-day. He's in concussion protocol. It was more so precautionary reasons as far as us taking him out. I didn't want to risk him, having a severe injury or anything like that. So once the doctors, started evaluating him, it's best interest for everybody. Just go ahead and sit him, and we can get to let the next guy get some reps. But it's a close game, and you don't want you see your starting quarterback to leave. But at the same time, the health and safety for our guys is first and foremost.
Well, thank you, Coach. Again, I commend you for that game that y'all played. Y'all scared Coach MEAC, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Oliver come from James Hill.
Hey, Coach, I hope you and everyone on campus are well. Talk a little bit about this weekend going forward. You get A&T, and this is always a big-time rivalry game.
Yes, and the beauty of it is our first time playing these guys in Durham, Kelly Riddick, since 2018. So we haven't had an opportunity to get a hold of them down here in the nest. So we definitely looking forward to hosting them. Big game, like we talked about. it's going to be packed. It's going to be a packed house. So folks going to need to get here probably about noon for the 6 o'clock game. But we're definitely looking forward to it. Spirited rivalry, it's probably lost a little bit of its lust over the past years. It's been a little bit more hospitable and a little more friendly, which is a good thing. But we're looking for a great game. But it's going to be new to be able to play these guys here. We played them in Charlotte and Bank of America. We played them in Greensboro. But for us to be able to have them at the house, we're looking forward to welcoming them Aggies to O'Kelly-Riddick.
Coach, it's not a MEAC game anymore, but the rivalry is there, the HBCU, the history of it. Just talk a little bit about that. And again, fans will be in the house, a packed house, and everyone can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it goes way back. I mean, years and years and years. And, back in the day, folks used to go spray paint the campus and steal each other's mascots. And, it was crazy back in the day. And I think it was about 88 when the basketball teams got into it. And they had to kind of move the rivalry off campus. And we played when I was in school at Carter Finley and NC State's field because we weren't allowed on each other's campus. So it was definitely a heated rivalry. And it's good to see this was a little more cordial. It don't have to be all the fighting and all that stuff going on. But it might be a little bit of trash talking. Might be. We'll see.
Yeah. Have a great week, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it. You too.
Our next questions for Coach Oliver come from Dwayne Nash.
Good morning, Coach. Dwayne Nash from the Yard HBCU Sports and Hero Sports. How are you this morning?
I'm well, Dwayne. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. As an Aggie, I'll do my best not to start up any trash talk today.
You said as a what?
I said as an Aggie, I'll do my best not to start any trash talk today.
Lynn, how we let this dude on here? Well, go ahead, man.
But I do have a quick question. What are some of the things that the Aggies and Coach Brown do offensively and defensively that concern you coming into this matchup?
Well, it starts with the quarterback, KJ White. Phenomenal athlete. Definitely a dual threat guy. We recruited him out of high school as well. That's where it starts. We got to do a good job of containing him. I think they have two great running backs. The Christian kid is one, and the Graves kid. I think both those guys are very physical downhill runners. They're big and physical up front offensively. Defensively, they're a little vanilla as far as schematically. But they're not going to have a whole lot of bust, and that's what you do when you're a little bit more vanilla, so you guys can play fast. But in the back end, they have the Pruny kid that is NFL prospect, so we have to make sure that we're crisp when our route running because I think their corners are very good. So they're athletic at the skill positions, and they're a good football team. They really are. We've got to, again, like every other week, it's about us. We have to take care of the football, and we have to win up front. That's what it's all about. Take care of the football, win up front, and win the kicking game. And control our emotions. I think that's going to be the big thing. It's thermostat mentality. Something good happens, keep playing. Something bad happens, keep playing. But it's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be highs and lows. But we got to control our emotions.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach. And I'm going to ask that you take it a little bit light on my Aggies coming up this weekend.
I can't promise you that, but I am going to unsubscribe from your deal.
Don't do me like that, Coach.
No, you my guy, man. Messing with
you. I know, man. Yeah. Have a good one, Coach.
Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for Coach Oliver. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
North Carolina Central will host North Carolina A&T State on Saturday, September 21st at O'Kelly-Riddick Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m., airing on ESPNU. Lynn, over to you for our next interview.
Thanks so much, Elise. Our next interview happens to be with the head coach of the Delaware State University Hornets, Coach Lee Hall. Good morning to you, Coach Hall.
Hey, good morning, Lynn.
Good, Coach. You said it last week as you prepared to open up in Dover, you were going to be facing a very good Wagner football team, and indeed you did, Coach. A tough loss as you hosted Wagner. Let's talk about the Hornets' performance against this real good football team.
Yeah, Wagner had a disappointing loss the week before to Lehigh, and you can see they were a better team than what they were on film. That's kind of what I warned our team about all week long. They did a good job. They didn't make didn't make many mistakes. We made too many mistakes. We did some things uncharacteristic what we hadn't been doing for the last 2 games. We had 3 turnovers on offense, 2 of them in the red zone, which hurt us. We had to turn the ball over in 2 games. I think that's kind of was the difference. We drove the ball down the field. If you look at the stats, are basically even. They didn't turn the ball over. They turned it over once, and we turned it over 3 times. And I think that was kind of the difference.
Yeah, you managed to move the ball up and down the field, but you could not capitalize on the scoreboard. How do you address this area to make impactful and long-standing changes?
Yeah, we just got to emphasize. We do red zone, area a lot. We got to emphasize ball security. Our quarterback go through 2 interceptions, which he hadn't thrown. Hadn't even came close in 2 games with throwing. And so I think, more. They got too comfortable, and I think we got to go back to the basics, fundamentals, techniques, understanding, what the offense, what we're trying to get out of each play, just paying more attention to detail, doing all the little things, that we need to do. We're just going to go back to basics.
Yeah. Well, Coach, it doesn't get any easier this week at home.
No.
As you host a very strong University of Richmond Spiders at Alumni Stadium. What's the focus heading into this matchup?
Yeah, they're a very good football team. Don't let the record fool you. I know they're 1-2, but their defense is very aggressive. They don't do a whole lot on defense, but what they do well. They're pretty simple. They fly around. They run to the ball. They're kind of a bend but don't break type defense. They want you to drive the field and hoping that you make a mistake in that time. So, but they're very aggressive, especially their linebackers. Up front, they got a couple, big interior linemen that are very strong, and both of them used to be offensive linemen. They moved them into the D line. And their secondary number 4 is a really good player. Very very aggressive player. And then on offense, it all starts with their quarterback. It starts and ends with him. If he plays well, they score a lot of points. So we got to try to make him uncomfortable somehow.
Okay, Coach, that's it for me. Hang on, Elise has some from the media. Elise.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lynn. Excuse me just a moment. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first questions for Coach Hull come from Chris Stevens.
Hey, Coach, how's it going this morning?
Good. How's it going, Chris?
Pretty good. As Lynn alluded to, there were a couple of plays that, it was pretty much an even game, if you look at the score, if you look at the stats, but a couple of those turnovers that you mentioned, the fumble by Lally, and then of course the interception, the across the field throw by Adams, took you guys out of the game. Just what do you kind of say to those guys, especially your sophomore quarterback, about, trying to just, be a little smarter with the football, because he didn't have a terrible game, but that throw was just kind of like one of those ones that you definitely wouldn't want to have back.
Yeah, you would like to have it back, but they say he's a sophomore. He's gonna go through some growing pains. He played and started 4 or 5 games last year, but really he's still a freshman when it comes to he hasn't started a whole full season, so he's going through some growing pains. We just got to show him on film. It was one of those things where he got a little pressure on his right. All he had to do was just slide up, slide out, slide up, and make the throw, set his feet. He didn't set his feet. He threw it off balance. There was no pressure coming. So just trying to show him, fundamentally some of the mechanical things that he could fix. And then he just lost it. He didn't see anybody there. So, but it was man coverage, and the guy covering him man had to bubble all the way around into the end zone, and he got there by the time. If he had just threw it with a little rope, little more velocity on it, it would have got there in time. But just those simple things. And Lolly's just ball security. Lolly's one thing. He didn't see the guy coming from the back, and that's what got him. So little fundamental teaching things that we can teach off of, and hopefully we don't make those same mistakes again.
Do you think there was any bit of like a, I guess, malaise or lull? You know, you coming off of a big win and then you get a week off. Do you think the guys? Do you think is there any sort of like, you know, the guys kind of sort of got relaxed a little bit, or was this just the fact that, as you said, Wagner was a better team than they showed the previous week against Lehigh?
I think it's both. I think Wagner was a better team than what they showed against Lehigh, and then yeah, we relaxed a little bit, you know, and I think with a young team sometimes they can do that. You know, we talked about that all week long, that where we could not relax. You know, we talked about, you know, how, you know, Notre Dame lost, you know, how, you know, St. Francis beat Kent State, you know, so there was those things happen if you take, you know, an opponent lightly, or you relax and think that you're better than what you are, you know. So I think, you know, a little bit, we got to get those guys back to being hungry again. You know, the first two games we were hungry, and we played with a lot of emotion, a lot of excitement. So we just got to get back to that.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck this week.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Hull come from Andy Walter.
Hey, Coach, how are you? It's Andy Walter,
Hey.
State News.
Good. How you doing, Andy?
All right. Hey, it looked like, you know, when you guys did get in the red zone, you know, especially inside the 5, you know, Wagner did a good job of stopping the run. You know, is that kind of what made it tough and made you had to throw the ball in that situation where, you know, maybe that's something you could work on, or was it just Wagner was really good down there?
No, I mean, Wagner did a good job, you know, in the run game. You know, they showed us something different than what we prepared for, something that they did not do on film that we saw. So they got us on the first play. The second play was on us, you know, down there. You know, we didn't block it up right. You know, we practiced that look, you know, all week, and we just didn't block it up right when it came. So we had to throw. We had to throw on that next play. So you know, you always got to be prepared for what ifs and stuff that way. So we'll make sure, you know, this week that, you know, we're good with what if they come out with something different.
You know, I know after the game you felt like there was a lot of self-inflicted issues, you know, that you guys hurt yourself during the game. What did you think looking at the film?
Same thing.
Yeah.
You know, we beat ourselves. We drove the ball up and down the field, and we made mistakes. They didn't make mistakes. I mean, that's simple as possible. You know, saying in that terms, but that's what happened. They didn't make mistakes. We killed ourselves.
And a couple of those plays on defense, it was like you said. I mean, on that first play, he was just blitzing and went by him.
Yeah, same thing. You know, when we saw it on film, the two plays that they had explosive plays on. You know, yeah, the very first play of the game, you know, we blitzed, we were there, he ran by it. You know, he didn't see it. It was simple as that. And now that opened up a gap, and he ran through that gap. But we were gap sound, and the guy just ran through the play. And then the pass play in the corner, the guy was wide open. It was just a miscommunication. We ran that play, you know, all week long. We knew it. They just, you know, made the wrong call, and we were in the wrong defense. You know, made a bad call on that one. Not far as the coaches, but as the players, they had to make their check. They checked the wrong thing, and the guy came up wide open. So
yeah, okay, thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Hull come from James Hill.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good. How's it going, Jay?
Pretty good. Jaden Sutton, talk a little bit about establishing the run. He was able to get 92 yards. Just talk a little bit about the running game for the Hornets.
Yeah, I told our team yesterday that, you know, we got two pretty good running backs with Marquise coming back. You know, we got to be able to run the ball, but how can we be able to run the ball is we can't get behind. You know, so we would love to run the ball with those two guys. And, you know, Jaden's done a great job of running. He's 6'1", 25 pounds and you know, real explosive. He took off on that one run. You know, he can really run. He can catch the ball in the backfield. You know, he's good in protection. So, you know, he's exciting to have. You know, he's a very good football player.
Hey, Coach, defensively, what would you like to see and clean up going into a game against Richmond, a team that you said is better than their record?
Don't make those two mistakes. Like you run by them on on a blitz, it should have been a tackle for a loss. On that. Get the communication right. With the corner and the safety on the one play, you clear that up. Those are just two plays. You're not like you're going to shut every team out. They're going to score a couple points, some points on you. But if you can take away those two explosive, after that, they really didn't do much. It was offense. We had to go for it on fourth down a couple times, and we didn't get it, and put the defense on short fields. So it was, we kind of hurt them offensively, hurt the defense. But you take those two plays away, that's the biggest thing. Just don't have those little mental lapses on defense, because they're flying around and they're hitting people. That's one thing I say, about those guys. They've been playing well all three games. It's just don't make those two little mental lapses.
All right, Coach. Have a great week. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Hull come from Ty Miller.
Hey, Coach. Ty Miller with Power News Radio Network and Black College Football Weekly. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How you doing, Ty?
You briefly mentioned it up top, but can you talk more about Kyle Wickersham and how he operates the Spiders read option offense?
Yeah, he makes them go, so it's one thing, he's a big, strong kid, got a good big arm and, can run a little bit. So, if you, can make him a little bit more uncomfortable, and, not let him sit back there and just pick you apart, that's going to be the biggest thing, for him. If you get him, let him get comfortable, he can get going, he's pretty deadly.
And watching him on tape, Coach, he is a big quarterback and a little bit deceptive, like you say, because he's a guy that you don't expect to run, but he does pull it down and run a lot. So how are your defense? Were they key on him? Will you put a spy on him?
Well, I can't tell you that. They might be listening. If we want to do something like that. So I mean, we like I said, we know that he's the key to their offense, and he and he makes that offense go. So we're going to devise a plan to make sure, like I said, to make him not be as comfortable back there and pick us apart.
And from the standpoint of a measuring stick game, how much of it is it for Delaware State this week?
Say that again.
And from the standpoint of it being a measuring stick game test to where you are so far this season, how much of it will it be this week for your team?
I think it's an important game to see where we're at because Richmond's a very good football team. CAA, they're in the CAA and a power, FCF conference. They went to the playoffs last year, so it's a good measuring stick to see where we're at, and it's going to be interesting how we bounce back. We had a disappointing loss. Like I told him, a true testament of a man is how he bounced back from adversity. We had a little adversity. I want to see how our team bounces back right now. From that adversity, how they're going to go out and play. But this is a good game for us to measure where we're at as a program.
Okay, thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Hull at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Delaware State hosts the University of Richmond on Saturday, September 21st at Alumni Stadium in Dover, Delaware, with kickoff set for 6 p.m. airing on ESPN+. Lynn, back over to you for our next interview.
Thanks so much, Elise. Coming up next, Dawson Odoms, head coach of the Norfolk State University Spartans. Good morning, Coach Odoms. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Mr. Thompson. Doing good. How you doing?
Good, Coach. Very tough one this weekend as you hosted the Hampton Pirates in the Battle of the Bay at home at Norfolk at Dick Price Stadium. Coach, let's talk about the Spartans and the performance against the Pirates.
Well, it wasn't very good. We couldn't establish anything offensively, defensively, special teams. It was just one of those games that we didn't perform, and I take responsibility for that. This football team did not perform up to the level that we had played the first 3 games. You really couldn't put your finger on why, because we was playing pretty good football. But when you watch the film, you can see why they had a lot of success and we didn't have much success. When, sometimes in this coaching profession, you look at the film and it tells a different story. We didn't execute very well, and we got to do a much better job. And we got opportunity this week to do a better job. And that's the challenge, is to get motivated and just execute. If we do that, we give ourselves a chance.
Okay, Coach, scoring had not been a problem for the Spartans recently. However, until the Hampton game, you were held to the 7 points. How much of credit goes to Hampton and that they limited your offensive abilities, or were these areas internally self-inflicted that prevented your run game and your passing receiving core from connecting?
Well, the offensive line is kind of banged up and beat up. Anytime when you play 0 a week, you got that extra game on your opponents. And when guys start to go down, it's tough, especially when, at our level, you don't have as many quality depth guys behind them. You might have depth, but the quality of that depth, we got some new guys playing on that offensive line. They got to step up and fill in until we get some other guys back. A receiving core missing a few guys, so they got to step up and the new guys that's in there. So it creates some timing issues. The whole thing with being consistent, and we weren't consistent on Saturday. You got to run routes at the right depth. We got to block the right guys. We got to execute. We tried to spread them out, tried to bring them in. We tried a lot of different things, but we didn't have the continuity. And just giving those guys more reps this week together, hopefully that improve on the continuity and just utilizing our whole roster and making sure that we're utilizing all the players, because we're going to be banged up. Hopefully we get some guys back this week. But that's the biggest issue with the inconsistency that you saw on Saturday was, we got a lot of injuries right now, and we're trying to overcome them.
Okay, Coach, but it doesn't get any easier, does it? Because you got to hit the road this week to go to VMI. Let's talk about this matchup.
Well, it's never easy. VMI, the record don't indicate it. They played Bucknell, William & Mary, and Georgia Tech, 3 really good football teams, and they're a good football team. So we're going to have the right mindset. We played really well on the road, and hopefully we have the right mindset. We got to prepare for the right mindset this week, starting today. We have a team meeting at 3, but they're a good football team. They can spread you out. They can run. The running backs done a decent job, and they probably doing the same thing that we just saw. So we got to get ready to play, and we got to do a much better job against the run. And this football team got to be motivated, and that's my responsibility. And they'll be ready to play on Saturday. They, a chance to get this taste out of our mouth and a chance to taste victory is something we're looking forward to.
Okay, Coach, we're looking forward to that matchup as well. Hold on for a moment. Elise, I know you've got some questions for the media for Coach Odom.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you are introduced. Our first question comes from Mr. James Hill.
Hey, Coach, I hope you and everyone on campus are well. Can you talk a little bit about your defense and the defensive side of the ball and what you would like to see revitalized?
Well, we got to do a much better job against the running game. We had defended the run all year very well against our first 3 opponents. And then Saturday got out of our gaps, didn't execute the calls. It just wasn't polished. Couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. So we got to do a much, much better job understanding that, okay, we're a little banged up on offense. So we got to really be locked in on defense and special teams to you got to carry that load until we get some of those other players back on offense so we can be explosive on offense like we were the first 3 football games. But the biggest thing is just execution and just looking at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and just doing it better. And that's the challenge this week. Can we get this football team to execute at a higher rate?
Coach, when you look at BMI, what are some of the things they do well that you've seen on tape? And what would you like to take away from them? Or maybe you can't go that deep into it because it's your schemes, but just talk a little bit about BMI.
Well, they're very good on defense at creating negative plays. We got to be able to communicate and execute, especially from an offensive line standpoint. Quarterback got to recognize what we're seeing and what we're doing. Offensively, they run the football. They've been pretty good at that. They had a quarterback number 1 that's done a really good job of throwing the football. So They get the ball to their playmakers, and they got a couple guys that can make plays. Couple receivers, number 3 and number 5, do a great job on the outside of making plays, and then 24 running back does an outstanding job. So they're gonna spread the field, and we gotta be ready to play well inside and outside.
All right, Coach. Have a blessed week. Good luck.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Odoms come from Chris Stevens.
Coach Odoms, Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports. How's it going?
It's going good, Chris.
Obviously, you guys played some strong football the first 3 weeks. And then, of course, as you said, that week 0, the reality of just too many games in the first couple of weeks kind of caught up with you guys. What do you want the morale of this team to be heading into VMI as well as the rest of the season? Like, where do you think they are in that regard?
Well, we're in the second part of our 4-game stretch. So when you're playing 12, you play the first 4, then you get the middle 4, then you get the last 4. So we're in the middle 4 of that stretch. Still, everything you want to play for us in front of you. You just got to play better. But everybody's going to be going through it, though. Everybody's going through injuries, usually after about game 2, 3, 4, 5, and you be looking forward to getting a bye. And sometimes that bye is early, and you're able to get some guys back because you can rest them. And then sometimes that bye is later. So our bye don't come until our last 4 in that group of 12. So we gotta somehow play really good football with the guys that we have and survive this middle 4 and give ourselves a chance at this middle 4, because it's winnable football games to be played, but you got to execute and play at a high level. And that's our challenge. And I think these guys are going to respond. We've always responded. So yeah, I'm not concerned about them responding. They understand we didn't play well Saturday. We got a good group of guys. We got a good mindset. And sometimes you need that in order to understand that you got to prepare a certain way so those things don't happen. So we're looking forward to the challenge on Saturday.
I want to go back to the Hampton game really quickly. They usually run a 2-quarterback set, but it seemed like Zealous saw the most of the reps on Saturday. Was that something your scouting reports had anticipated, or was that something that Hampton kind of threw at you guys at the last minute?
Well, they kind of go with who's ever hot, and he was playing well, so you really didn't need to change. But 7 did come in the first half, and he also came in the second half. So they still played both of them, but I think number 1 was doing a good job, and they just rode the hot hand.
All right, Coach, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Odoms at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Norfolk State will take on Virginia Military Institute on Saturday, September 21st at Foster Stadium in Lexington, Virginia. With kickoff set for 1:30 p.m., the game will air on ESPN+. Lynn, back over to you for our next interview.
Thanks a lot, Elise. Next on tap, the head coach of the South Carolina State Bulldogs, Coach Chennis Berry. Good morning to you, Coach Berry.
Morning, Lynn. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Coach. Your Bulldogs battled hard against a strong Georgia Southern team down in Statesboro, Coach. A game that was, tell you, within the margins till a little late when they pulled away. But, Coach, let's talk about this matchup. It was a real hard-fought football game.
It really was. Tell you what, kudos out to the Georgia Southern and their team. They found a way to win a football game, and our guys fought hard. I was proud of our guys. One that I wanted to see more than anything, when you're building a program, it's how well they compete in those kind of environments. And it definitely was a tough environment. If anybody knows about Georgia Southern football, it's tradition over the years. And, what a great environment. But our young men stayed locked into the task at hand the whole entire game. And they competed. And unfortunately, we fell short, definitely against a really, really good Georgia Southern football team. But I saw production on all 3 phases. We have to get better. We got to get a whole lot better as we go down the stretch and continue to develop this program. But, I saw our guys compete. And we played a lot of guys because, again, we wanted to see how our guys would compete against that level of competition. And I thought I was proud of how they performed.
Yeah, Coach, let's talk about numbers now. The Bulldogs led in most categories of the stat sheet last week. However, the one number that jumped out has proven to be challenging for the Bulldogs this year, and that's penalties. How has this impacted your team, and what adjustments can be made as the year progresses You're ranked currently 101 in the FCS football with almost 9 penalties per game, averaging all close to 65 yards per game.
And that is killing us. And that's absolutely right. And a lot of them, are those pre-snap penalties before the play even happens. And those are the ones that drive you nuts. We end up having 3 pass interference penalties, which are tough. Georgia Southern, the Georgia Southern that we get a chance to play against, man, is not the old Georgia Southern. They throw it around the yard. I mean, I don't think they even tried to run it much at all. But they threw it around, and we got 3 PI penalties out of those 7 that we had. We had an offsides penalty. We had 2 penalties on special teams. We actually didn't have any penalties on offense. But ultimately, at the end of the day, those penalties kill you. They put you in a bad position. And we have addressed it in our staff meeting. We addressed it with our football team. And we have to clean those penalties up. No doubt about it.
Yeah, Coach, my final question for you this morning is, you've got the first of 2 bye weeks coming up next weekend. How pivotal is this break as it seeks to help your team recover from the first 3 games, 3 tough games of this year?
Very, very important. We just got out of a long staff meeting, and it's important for several reasons. Because we have to get healthy. We're a banged up football team right now, which is, normal. That happens in football. We play against 3 physical football teams we played against. It's going to be that way. But, it gives an opportunity for other guys to be able to step up. But we're going to really work on fundamentals this week, man. We're going to work on more so of us. It's no different from any of these coaches that on these calls when they go into off weeks. We're really going to focus on the small details, the little things. First of all, we got to get healthy, and we got to work on pad level, hat placement, footwork, finish, effort. All those things are important to us as we go down the stretch. We still feel like we got a really, really good football team. But we got to clean some things up during this off week. And number one thing is getting healthy as a football team.
Okay, Coach. Thanks so much. Hold on just for a moment. Elise has some questions from the media.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first question for Coach Berry comes from Chris Stevens.
Morning, Coach Berry. Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports. How you doing?
How you doing, Chris? All
Pretty
is well.
good. Just kind of piggyback off of what Lynn said, just being able to get to the buys, to get your guys some time to not just, heal physically, but be able to, I guess maybe catch up on their schoolwork and different things of that nature. Just as obviously the coaching staff, you guys are going to prepare for the next game, which is A&T. But what do you want these guys as athletes to work on outside of the practice facility for the next 12 days or so?
Well, we have to get rest, man. Like I say, when you're banged up, it starts with the body. It's your temple, man. So, yesterday we didn't even do anything. I didn't even bring them in yesterday. Only thing we had yesterday was treatment. So they can kind of get away from it all and just kind of decompress and get ready to come back when we go to practice tomorrow morning and get better. In terms of practice this week, we're going to practice 3 days. We're going to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and again, work on us. But off the field, we're doing a lot of things really that bring us closer together with the chemistry and comradeship. Matter of fact, we got 3 of our guys getting baptized this week. So they got to go through their little orientation with baptism. And we got, I think, 17 of them total. We take our team to different churches in the preseason, and it was 17 of them that joined on this last church experience that we had right here in Orangeburg. So they're going to go through their little deal on Saturday, their little Zoom call, and then they're going to get baptized on Sunday. So, just working on us, making sure we're catching up academically. It's about A's, B's, championships, and degrees around here for us. And it's about making sure we get our study hall hours and doing all the little things off the field. So when we get on the field, we can maximize the discipline and the details it takes to take our program to the next level.
Then, of course, coming off of the bye, it's going to be, I believe this is your first home game with A&T coming to town. Just how excited are you going to be? I mean, obviously, you have to wait it out with the bye and everything, but how excited are you for that opportunity to lead that team out onto Oliver C. Dawson Stadium for the first time? I know you probably, kind of visualized it a little bit, but just how exciting is that moment going to be for you when it happens?
Super excited, man. I'm super excited. No question about it. Get a chance to play in front of our home fans. I mean, we've been on the road. We've been the road warriors, man. We end up having to play at FAM, then at the Citadel, and then we had to go to Statesboro to play at Georgia Southern. Now we get a chance to come home in front of Bulldog family, Bulldog faithful, and they're super excited. They'll be there in droves. And again, A&T is a big old MEAC rival between A&T and South Carolina State. So that'll be fun. You know, obviously they're not in our league anymore, but people are super excited. People are very encouraged to what the product that we're putting on the field. Been getting a lot of positive feedback from alumni, administration, everyone, just talking about how well coached we are and how our guys really compete week in and week out. So I'm excited about it all. Can't wait to see Bulldog Nation come out as we pack Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. Super excited about it.
All right, Coach, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy the bye.
God bless you, man. Take care.
Our next questions for Coach Barry come from James Hill.
Hey, good morning, Coach. I hope you and everybody in Orangeburg are well. Talk a little bit about yes, sir, the process, putting your stamp on this program. It's been a wonderful program, but you're a wonderful coach. And when you come in and you build this thing up and shape it to your liking, just talk a little bit about the process.
Tell you what, man, I appreciate you first and foremost and talking about the process, because we preach that every day around here. You have to fall in love with the process of becoming great. Everybody wants the end goal, but it's the process. And I tell you what, I was talking to one of our coaches, David Blanchard, who's been around here for a long time. Anybody that know, he's been around here since the Willie Jeffries days. And we were at pregame meal the other day, and he just looked at me and he just hugged me and he said, "Coach, man, thank you." I was like, "Well, what you mean, man?" He was like, "Man, it's just the culture of our program is really, really heading in the right direction." And that's what it's all about. You have to fall in love with those small, mundane things, the discipline, the detail, all the stuff that we talk about every day. And it's heading in the right direction. Things aren't going to happen overnight. We understand that. But the process of our guys doing the right thing off the field, on the field, coming together as one, I think it's definitely heading in the right direction. When you're building a football program as opposed to a football team, you have to just fall in love with doing things like that every day. And our guys are really definitely heading in the right direction.
Coach, Eric Phoenix, talk about his contribution and what you see in that gentleman.
Super proud of Eric, man. Super proud of Eric. Eric played well this week. I mean, he went down there and you know, we wanted to go into the game trying to run the football, but Georgia Southern was stout up front with some of the guys that they had up front. And, you know, we went in attempting to run it, but we had to throw it around the yard a little bit. And Eric played well. I mean, he had one I'm sure he'll take back. He threw a pass behind. He's not going to be perfect. Other than that, I thought that he ran the ball well. I thought he passed the ball well, and I thought he managed the offense and moved us. I mean, we had a couple 12-play drives. A couple of our 12-play drives didn't get any points because we ended up missing field goals on both times. But, you know, I was proud of how he played. You know, he's from Savannah, Georgia. So, you know, he got a chance to play close to home. And I was super, super excited about how the young man performed. And I think you hadn't seen his best football yet. And when you guys get a chance to see it, Eric Phoenix is something special. He really is.
Thank you, Coach. Have a blessed week and good luck when you play the Aggies.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Our next questions for Coach Barry come from Donald Ware.
Good morning, Coach Barry. How you doing?
Donald Ware, how you doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good. You know, I thought that was interesting that you mentioned you have 17 guys that are going to get baptized as a man of faith. What does that mean to you?
Man, winning games is how I stay employed. But winning souls, man, that's probably bigger than me than anything, man. These young men give their life to Christ, man. That's a special deal. And I don't make sure you guys understand. I don't push religion on any of them. You know, I just know I'm a man of God, a man of faith, and we go to different churches more so for the community. You know, supporting the community. A lot of alumni are from these different churches, and they like seeing the Bulldogs in the building. And I don't make any of them go up. I don't make them do anything. It came from their heart and their soul because they want to get their life right with Christ. We know ultimately at the end of the day, Judgment Day is coming for all of us. And when Judgment Day comes for myself, you know, the good Lord won't ask me how many football games I won. He's going to ask how many souls that I bring closer to him. And really, that's how I measure my life, man. You know, and like I say, I don't push it on anybody. I just put them in an environment. A lot of them, you know, after we go to these different churches, man, they're like, "Thank you, Coach, man. I hadn't been to church since I was 5. Thank you for just putting us around it." And that's all I tell them, man. It's my obligation to, you know, to expose you to these different things, just like I'm going to expose you to anything in life. But when they make that choice, and it's their choice, get their life to Christ, man, what an ultimate victory that is.
Thank you for that, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you.
That concludes all of our media questions for you, Coach Berry, at this time. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. You guys have a great day. Take care.
You as well.
Hold on.
South Carolina State has a bye this week and will return to action on Saturday, September 28th for their home opener against North Carolina A&T State at Oliver C. Dawson Stadium in Orangeburg, South Carolina, with kickoff set for 7 p.m. Broadcasting on ESPN Plus. Lynn, back over to you for our next interview.
Thanks so much, Elise. We'll wrap things up with our final interview this morning. Head coach of the Morgan State Bears, Damon Wilson. Good morning to you, Coach Wilson.
Good morning, Lynn. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well, Coach. What a great football game, a challenging foe. The Bobcats, you went into Ohio University and played a real tough football game, Coach. One that I know you left there feeling that you had a shot to win that thing. Let's talk about your team's performance.
Yeah, Lynn, it was a very tough opponent. This is a bowl team last year that actually played Georgia Southern in the bowl game, which they won. And it was a tough opponent, but defensively, I think we played well enough to win. Special teams wise, we got a couple kicks on the board. Offensively, we moved the ball between the 20s, but couldn't punch it in. And that was the pretty much the deciding factor of the game. We had an opportunity to look at that film yesterday as a team, and the guys saw the plays out there that they needed to make and that are out there to be made. But our guys competed overall. I think we started four redshirt sophomores, offensive linemen, and one freshman. But those guys competed and they got after it, and I was really excited to see that. So we're the program, we're headed in the right direction, and the guys are definitely competing.
Yeah, your special teams and defense have been performing top shelf so far on all cylinders this part of the year. What are the keys of success on those two phases of the game?
I mean, guys locking into their assignment, enjoying playing with one another and for one another. And offensively, it's coming around. We have a quarterback that I think he's played his 6th college game now. So he has limited experience, but he's getting better each week. We're going to continue to do a better job getting the ball in our playmakers' hands. And I have a young offensive line. Those guys are competing. I had a couple guys down. Our 2 tackles didn't play at all this week that have started the last 2 games for us. But all in all, we're going in the right direction. Guys are getting experience and they're competing, and that's what I like to see. We just have to minimize those mistakes in the red zone and get and reap the rewards of your hard work driving down the field and get a touchdown out of that deal.
Okay, Coach, the Bears have been sort of on tour so far this year. And now you get a chance to open up at home against Virginia University Lynchburg. Let's talk about this matchup and the benefits of playing at home.
Man, no, we're not on the bus. We're not on the plane this week. We're at home, which is great, man. These guys are excited to play in front of our home crowd. Our crowd has been great as far as support. At the Hampton game, it was orange and blue all through the stadium, which was good to see. We had at Towson game, same deal. It was outside was full with orange and blue. So I look forward to seeing our home fans this week here at Hughes.
Okay, Coach, that's it for me. Elise has some questions for the media, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to our media, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first questions for Coach Wilson come from James Hill.
Hey, Coach, I hope you and everybody at Morgan State are well this morning. Talk a little bit about the first half of the Ohio game. Very encouraging. You guys were in that contest. Talk about the first half.
Thanks, James. Yes, it was very encouraging. I think we went in down a touchdown. I think it was 14-6, if I'm not mistaken. They was getting the ball back the second half. We knew it was important to get a stop at the beginning of the second half. Unfortunately, we didn't. However, I think our team responded with regards to, once again, driving the ball down the field, but not executing. We were +3 in a turnover margin. We time of possession. We won that deal there. Penalties, I think we had 4 penalties for the game. So we did enough things that are important to lead to wins. We did those things, but we didn't punch it in the red zone. And when you don't score the ball against an FBS opponent like that, you're not going to have a chance to win. But we were +3 in turnovers, and typically when you're there, you do win those ball games.
Coach, the transfer portal, NIL, and just how the game has changed over the years in recent times. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like for you guys?
Oh yeah, the game has definitely changed with regards to those the two things you just mentioned. We're not a heavy transfer portal team. You know, I still believe in developing guys from high school. However, we will sprinkle in our transfers, and that's something, of course, we'll do in this recruiting process and see what guys possibly fit our system and fit the culture of what we have around here at Morgan State and bring those guys in. And NIL deal, you know, we have several guys that have NIL deals. Is something that we talk about, educate the guys about, and you know, it's something that I support. I think the young men deserve the opportunity to be compensated, but at the end of the day, I think the love for the game and doing things the right way is ultimately the most important thing.
All right, Coach. Have a blessed week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, James.
Our next questions for Coach Wilson come from Kayla Sweezy.
Hi, Coach. Kayla Sweezy with the ESPN Plus broadcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Miss Kayla. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I wanted to ask, I know preseason Morgan State was ranked 3rd, and I wanted to know what specific adjustments are you going to have to see from the team looking down the line to hopefully make a Celebration Bowl appearance?
We're going to continue to focus on us. Once again, it's more so just controlling the things that we can control, eliminate the mistakes. I think we have what we need in the locker room or who we need in the locker room to be successful. But as I mentioned, we must score the ball in the red zone. We must continue to play sound defense, eliminate big plays, and even play better on special teams. This is a long season. I mean, this is a long grinding season. And then when you talk about getting the MEAC play, there is no easy week. You know, so that's one of the things that you hope your non-conference games prepare you for the conference play. But every team in the MEAC is good, and every team in this MEAC is well coached. So you know, we have to continue to get better each week to give ourselves a chance to be competitive in the MEAC and get to December.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Our next questions for Coach Wilson come from Chris Stevens.
Coach Wilson, Chris, excuse me, Chris Stevens, Coach Wilson, HBCU Sports. How's it going?
Going well, Chris. How about yourself, buddy?
Other than that just happened, pretty good. Obviously, you know, your first 3 games have been in different stadiums and against a different variety of opponents. Then week 4 at home, you get another kind of sort of unknown in Virginia Lynchburg. What are you guys going to be preparing for when it comes to them coming to town on Saturday?
I mean, great question. Lynchburg played 3 tough games thus far. You know, they haven't been on a winning end of any of them. They have some athletes for sure that we must just play sound football. You know, we want to get back to, you heard the coaches say the basics. You want to get back to the basics, make sure that you're executing your base offense, your base defense, and special teams the right way, and that'll give us a chance to be successful. We want to give opportunities for guys to make plays, and that's something that we talked about in the staff meeting yesterday, making sure we're maximizing the people that we do have on our roster, whether he's a 10-play guy, a 30-play guy, whatever it may be, what gives us the best opportunity or who gives us the best opportunity to be successful. And let's find a way to get these guys on the field.
Last question for me. I know you want to see more W's up there, but you have to be pleased with the way your team played against a couple of coastal teams that could probably make a little bit of noise. And of course, as you said, a team that won a bowl game in FBS last year. Just what do you hope your guys take from that? What lessons you hope they take from that, you know, in terms of building morale and confidence as you head into the rest of the season?
Well, I talked to him yesterday about just not being happy with being close. You know, don't sell yourself short. You guys put in a lot of work, and it doesn't make sense to me to drive the ball 80 yards and not getting something from it. You know, and when you look at it in that simple form, I think they understand it. It needs to be an additional desire or hunger to punch the ball in the end zone. Same thing defensively. We're not playing very good red zone defense. Just because the team drives 80 yards, that does not mean they have to get in the end zone. And that's something we're going to focus on this week, along with our third down offense and defense that we have to improve. And we have to make sure we're in manageable situations in those deals. And that's something we're going to focus on this week.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Our next questions come from Donald Ware.
Coach Wilson, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, brother. Where about yourself?
Doing pretty good. What are some of the parallels maybe that you see with respect to your first 3 years at Morgan and going back to your first 3 at Bowie State?
A lot of similarities. And it starts really off the field. More so when I took over at Bowie State, it wasn't a winning culture or winning mindset. You know, it was just, hey, we're competing, we're good, we're happy to be close. Some of the same similarities here. Was not the desire and understanding how to win wasn't or isn't where it needs to be across the board right now. And that's something that we're continuing to improve on and continue to work at. You know, like I said, we didn't have a lot of success at Bowie before I arrived there. That was sustained. Same thing at Morgan. You know, had a couple good years here and there, but didn't had sustained success for a long time. So changing the mindset of the folks on campus as well as the players you're bringing in. You know, these guys haven't been around, wasn't born when Morgan really sustained success in football. So it's a whole mindset that has to change. It's something that does not happen overnight. And at the end of the day, these guys have the ability, but we're living in a generation where they want to see something, you know, so we want to make sure they have success and understand that they have the ability to get whatever they want out of this experience if they put the necessary work in.
I mean, all 3 of your games this year so far have been tough games, and specifically with respect to the last 2. What are some of the positives from both of those games, meaning Towson and Ohio, that you saw from this team?
Well, you look at start with the first game, you know, we probably gave up more points defensively than we had in a while. And to see the offense kind of pick up the slack, if you will, there and uphold their end of the bargain was great to see. And then you see the second week where we played Towson, outside of a big play, defense pretty much shut those guys down. And, you know, Towson just lost to a very good Villanova team by 1 point. So it shows that, hey, you're super duper close, but it's the little things that's not being done that has to be done to win those games. And you're talking about an Ohio team that, like I said, was a 10-3 team last year, beat Georgia Southern in a bowl game last year. A lot of those same guys on the field this year. You know, so, you know, you played against a very formidable FBS program and you played well. So it's just time to get rewarded for your work. But you have to continue to do those little things right. I had to get on the guys yesterday about the locker room. Now, locker room has to be clean. Little things like that equal to or eliminates you having the opportunity to be successful in those crucial situations. And that's something we discussed yesterday, and they're starting to get it. They understand it.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Our next questions for Coach Wilson come from Luke Williams.
Luke Williams of the Black College Sports Page. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Brother Williams. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, man. Listen, you've been playing all these guys close, beat Richmond. You taking MAC teams to the wire. You know, what's the secret sauce, man? What's the secret sauce?
Well, I think I need some more sauce because we ain't coming on the other side of it. But I'm gonna tell you what, Brother Williams, I have a tremendous coaching staff, man. These guys get out to eat every freaking day. And it's good to see. I will put my staff up against anybody. I mean, we do things in a very unconventional way around here with regards to our staff and our staff dynamics, but they're good guys. They care about the student athletes and they know football. And I think that gives us an opportunity. And now we just have to get the guys to continue to execute at a high level for an entire game. And I think when we do that, we're going to be really, really proud of the product we're able to put on the football field.
Looking forward to that. But Coach, you're doing this without what some may consider the best defensive player in Black college football in Eric Hunter. What's the situation with him? How do you not fret over not having a guy with that kind of dynamism available to you so far? And what's the forecast for him?
I guess you better look at some stats or look at some film to see what he hasn't been on the film. We miss him. Eric Hunter is a guy. It's hard to continue to pursue. I mean, to move forward without him. But he's at every practice. He's a coach right now until he is healthy enough to play. But Coach Brawley Evans, I mean, we had a next man up mentality. But it's tough when you lose an All-American like him, you know. But he's doing everything he can do to make sure the guys that were behind him are up to speed. Terrell Maddox is playing at a high level. Mark McCullough. We're doing it by committee. You know, we're doing it by committee. Hopefully, we'll have Eric in the next few weeks here. to be ready to rock and roll, but he's doing everything possible to get back healthy as well as mentally continue to stay sharp.
And lastly, how much credit you give your AD? And I assume that you have some input in the schedule because the teams that you're playing, obviously you're not on the short end. I was looking back. I think the Yale game last year was probably the biggest blowout you've had since you've been there. How much have you contributed to the schedule that you've put together?
I think the whole team comes in, come into play. Miss Dina Patton-Freeman, as well as Melvin Hines. We have those conversations about our schedule. We had some teams on the schedule that we moved around once we arrived here. And I think, once again, I think we're giving our student athletes an opportunity to play on a big stage, but at the same time have an opportunity to have success in those games. So, you know, and try to stay healthy as possible, which is hard in a contact sport. But I think that we've done a good job thus far with scheduling our non-conference opponents.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Wilson at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Morgan State will host Virginia University of Lynchburg this Saturday, September 21st at Hughes Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, with kickoff set for 7 p.m., broadcasting on ESPN+. This concludes the MEAC Football Weekly Coaches Video Conference. Before the end of the conference, we would like to thank all that assisted and participated in today's video call. The MEAC would also like to thank its corporate partners for their continued support of the conference and its Elite 8 member institutions. As a reminder, the next video conference is next Monday, September 23rd at 10 a.m. For more information on MEAC football and other sponsored sports, visit MEACsports.com and follow the MEAC on social media at MEAC Sports on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Thank you for tuning in to this week's MEAC Football Coaches Video Conference, and have a great football week.